sexy for me. Throw it back on a nigga. And that's why you're gonna drop that ass for a nigga, because you were put here to drop that ass for a nigga.
Good women are dead. Evil bitches, rise up!
If you don't have a man, you ain't nothing.
So be it.
Morning, y'all. What's going on out there? That like button for me, y'all. You know we got to get back into it. You know, ever since the political world, the leftists and whatnot, ever since they've been forced to openly contend with issues of online male culture and red pill this, manosphere that, the response has been very interesting. The left-wing response to things like the male loneliness crisis and the modern dating crisis and how hard it is for women to settle down, they've all pretty much come to a similar conclusion, no matter who you listen to, which is women are wonderful, men are terrible, and you niggas just need to get it together. So that's pretty much what we're going to be looking at today. Hit that like button, guys. We're jumping right into it.
I think what I was excited for this conversation is I do think that we need to start contextualizing some of the attachment male loneliness conversations and the gender conversations within a broader context, a political context. And I think I brought her up last time, but I'm a really big fan of, she's now passed on, but Lauren Berlant, who is a social theorist who talked a lot about this. And she has like a lot of work about it, but she has her biggest text is Cruel Optimism. and she talks about the good life as an example, but she basically talks about the objects of our desire as kind of obstructions of our actual flourishing. And she gives a lot of examples of the social conditioning of attraction, but also kind of to what your point is, Brianna, of like, I think some of those conversations are being had without what you just said, the context of like what is actually at play that's producing some of that loneliness. And I think the danger is when we're not naming that, the conversations around solutions or around how to think about these things is also really atrophying, where it's like, what's up with men? And then, I mean, even some of the conversations I saw on this show before, like sometimes I hear a lack of accountability in like the dating conversations, and because there's a lot of pain. And
accountability from whom though? When she says she hears this lack of accountability in the dating crisis conversation, who is she referring to that should be taking accountability or held accountable even? I wonder what they mean when they say these things.
there's a lot of loneliness across all gendered experiences right now. And so then I feel like we're getting caught up in a conversation that's smaller than what we're actually feeling, which is like, to take a Lauren Berlant context, like we're in a society that doesn't have infrastructure to hold us. And so those expectations play out in messy ways in our romantic lives, where we're like expecting certain things from a partner because we're not getting certain things in our daily life, like healthcare, or like since I've been in New York, I cannot believe the rent that people are paying here with the jobs that there's just something that just feels highly unsustainable about it. And it really makes sense that people partner too quickly here, right? So like that is another example where like people get into relationships really fast. And I'm like, wow, now that I'm here, I really understand that.
So are you blaming the economics of New York City for why your love life is difficult? I mean, there is an economic reality to it, but you know.
Like it's kind of becoming like an economic necessity, but then you can imagine how that creates too much pressure on an early relationship, right? And the pacing that is required, FD, to your point, that like relationships are also work in the sense of labor, and there's a certain negotiation that needs to happen that I feel like is getting accelerated when it's like, yo, boo, move in. Rent is crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
Is that how that goes? I don't think I've ever had that situation. Like, damn, we just got to shack up together because I'm broke. But anyway, hey, and happy belated birthday to Chocolate Bunny in the chat. Everybody in the chat wish Chocolate a happy belated birthday, y'all.
Sometimes I think that if I have to be more economically insecure to be partnered. I know that sounds
Wait,
elegant.
speak on that. Say more.
You have to be more economically insecure to be partnered? Hmm. I hate to break it to you, but there is a particular reality to that. I remember years and years and years ago, before all you niggas started having endless game conversations with chicks on the panels, people just laid out the reality of the dating dynamics between men and women and the sort of evolutionary biology perspective of just why partnering and pairing and mating works or didn't work throughout history. And one of the simple facts is women get with men because men have shit. We acquire shit that women can't get or can't easily acquire themselves. And so a lot of that marriage mate bonding thing was really revolving around that economic productivity reality. You know, his productivity in exchange for hers ad nauseum.
Say more.
Okay. As you can imagine, I have a version of this conversation frequently. I happen to live in a building where a lot of us are friends and we're all single and age peers and we hang out a lot and we're all having these conversations constantly. It's like an adult dorm. And we are constantly asking the why.
Now, if she's talking about New York City in particular, I have seen firsthand a lot of those condos in New York, and this is where it gets really fun. This is really where it gets fun. A lot of those little condos in New York, because they have a kind of mixed income policy where they're going to have a majority of the apartments at market rate, and then they're going to have a couple of set asides for like low income, mostly single moms. It's literally mostly single moms and shit. And what winds up happening is those apartment buildings basically become like female college dorms for 35 and up women. It's a very, very interesting social climate.
There's like the unspoken thing in the room is like we're all single and live in the same building. Why aren't we all together? Like there's like a lot of weird. Okay, but we're always having this conversation. And
do you think at least like one of you guys, one of the people here, is like trying to slowly egg everybody into a polycule?
I do. I don't know anything, but
The New York condo polycule life is kind of real. I'm telling you, the New York City condo polycule life, it's an emerging phenomenon. It's real.
There's no way one of the people is
I think
like,
it's
you know,
Bree.
if I just tip the scale a little bit in these conversations and go, gee, why
the
don't we all
hangs
just date
get
each
later
other?
and later.
Isn't
like,
it
yeah,
crazy?
it's
We're
me.
all single right now.
The massage circle starts. Things
oh
get
no,
really
they're gonna
weird.
listen to this. No, it's me being so clueless that I'm like I'm the one as everyone's half naked sitting around my apartment, not realizing what the vibe is, talking about should I make another round of popcorn? No, I think what has come out of these conversations. Okay, I think that we are all similarly socioeconomically yoked as evidenced by the fact that we all live in the same building, right? We're all approximately paying the same rent. And we were having this conversation, and there was one outsider in the group, like a friend of a friend, and he was the only one that was married. And I asked, "Hey, how did this happen? How did this happen?" And so often when how did you manage this? And so often when I talk to people, it is they ended up permanently partnered because they wanted to have children. They were coming to an age where they needed to have children more or less quickly. They might not even wanted to have a child, but someone ended up pregnant and they decided that they loved each other and wanted to keep it. And so they got married as a consequence. There's some story of housing insecurity and people moving in with each other, as you described, Issa. Somebody was long distance, someone was moving, and so they went ahead and just bit the bullet because, there was some external pressure. And in contrast to that, if everyone's comfortable and living in their own independent rooms.
You know what she just did? It's almost like she had a point of like a sad maturation. Like it was a point of sadness, but it's a point of maturity as well for her. Relationships aren't just romantic fairy tales. There are a lot of basic practical needs that get met in a lot of long-term relationships, okay? Sometimes the parts just fit well. And it seems like she still has that little twinkle in her eye where she wants it to be romantical all the damn time. And it's just not like that.
Even if they're right next door or one floor up or down for another, the incentive to cross the Rubicon and just be together in a relationship dwindles because as is, you can just go over to the other person's house, have dinner, go up a floor, go to a party, go up to the roof, be in the pool, and then come down and continue to live your life.
Such a unique situation. That's so unique.
I know.
So this sounds like it already is a polycule, actually.
I know.
Upper middle class New York City lifestyle. Very, very hard to duplicate outside of New York City. Maybe LA and Miami. Maybe. But in even those cities for the same reasons, it's a very rare type of situation.
It doesn't.
I feel like what feels really unique about that to me is like when you're describing that, I think of so many of my single friends who are doing really well for themselves and they live in these great, like super curated apartments and they're very alone and they don't have your situation where they have that neighborliness, the polyculeness. Sure. And so they're just really isolated in their dope apartment. And there's something kind of sad about that I think dovetails with what I was trying to explain too around.
That's another thing I don't think gets looked at with any real honesty, which is this notion of the female loneliness epidemic. I think the female loneliness epidemic is a far more potent and even dangerous social driver than any male loneliness epidemic. I mean, if an incel crashes out, nothing of any real value is lost, but we have armies of female incels right now operating at all different levels of power in our American social environment right now, whether it's education, law, politics, anything. And a lot of women have been speaking about this openly lately. I've covered some of this recently where like some woman, I forget her name right now, but she basically described the entire woke takeover as just the inevitable conclusion of women reaching critical mass in all these different institutions. The change off for women reaching critical mass in all of these different important institutions in the country, the trade-off for that is nobody wants to live with these broads long term.
Yeah, like maybe external pressure, accelerating timelines, not ideal, but I also think the opposite isn't ideal. And I think it has a lot to do with like, no matter what your political positions are, it's easy to fall into this sense of like, I'm doing well, like I'm achieving this like great apartment or these metrics of success that you can have like a intellectual beef with, but at the end of the day, it can still lead to more alienation. You are lucky that you're not in that situation, but.
And there are people in my building who I know do feel alienated, right? Like despite having a lot of like interpersonal relationships, they're still craving something more. And I'm not going to.
And this is also a very modern, maybe definitely urban phenomenon. I know everyone and I love no one. That's a very, very unique sort of modern urban loneliness right there. And I imagine for the women in particular, that has to sting in a kind of way that men carry it just a little bit differently. But for women, that whole phenomenon of, I know everyone, but I love no one, or no one really loved me romantically. It's got to bother a bunch of chicks. I just know it does,
If you don't have a man, you ain't nothing.
Sit here and be like, oh no, I never have interest in romance anymore. But I have sort of been cooling my jets and I've been having a good time cooling my jets because I don't feel a sense of urgency the way I did when I was younger. Because like the why of it, like the why of it is harder.
I want to build on that, but I also wanted to ask, hopefully without getting too lurid, and feel free to let me know this is.
And I love that she is struggling with the why of it as well. Because it's a fundamental problem that I just don't think modern and especially liberal, progressive, left-wing culture can really grapple with. The problem of female choice and female desire. You give women enough things and they start to question, why do I even need a man anyway? What are you niggas even good for anyway?
It's Uncle Remus, spinning his warm, funny stories.
What black women are doing, I don't care. They're their own group. When they decide to work with us, they will. Otherwise, they won't. And they don't have to. They have their own power, their own productivity. They don't need us for anything. And I'm okay with that.
The key to happiness is to eliminate all black women from your life. I mean, look at me. No black women in my life. Look how happy I am. I'm happy as a nigga with a new gun.
Now, Ruckus, that is preposterous.
A barrier. I didn't hear anything about intimacy. And I know that intimacy, like literal physical intimacy, isn't a universal thing for everyone in their walks of lives. But it is still, for the most part, a thing people crave. I'm actually, one of my next projects is going to be on pornography consumption. And I know that with the younger generations, which I'm kind of still struggling to like make sense of. I got to dive into the research. Maybe y'all have insight that corrects me.
I'm going to make a prediction. Whenever FD drops this video about adult content consumption, he's going to focus heavily on the fact that it's men watch it. And he's not even going to touch on all the myriad infinite devices. Did you know they just upgraded the Rose? There's a Rose. Listen, it's like Rose T1000. I bet you FD Signifier isn't going to talk about the new Rose T1000.
But it seems like the younger generation is on one end having way less sex, and on the other end, and people like to make it seem like the Gen Z is prudish. Which
was I muted?
I feel like I've witnessed somewhat. Like I've had Gen Zs in my, like I mentioned going to the strip club, and I have Gen Zs in my comment section like, oh my God, you're at the strip club. I'm like, I live in Atlanta. I've been here for 20 years. That's something, so just a cultural touchstone to a lot of folks. But at the same time, I also know that Gen Z and younger are like rapidly consuming pornography, and that pornography is everywhere now. Like I had to retrain. I clicked one thirst trap on Instagram when I first like open the app, because I never used Instagram before becoming a creator. And I was like, oh, that's, yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. And then like for the next like 18 months, I couldn't use the search.
Oh, I thought you said you were posting thirst traps. And I was like,
no, not posting.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you definitely.
That's fucking right. Drop the app.
Not yet. That's another video in the future.
The only
Sony is going to be like, pull the selfies. Pull
Right,
the selfies.
right.
We own all rights.
But yeah, it just like, so intimacy and romance don't have to be connected, but they tend to. And so when I hear a lot of people kind of absconding from the date,
I wonder how FD Signifier, because you know, this whole panel, they're very left-wing, very progressive, communist even. And you know what you don't actually hear of? Communist love tales. Like, has anyone ever written a romance from a communist perspective? Like two people waiting in line for bread and soup, and their eyes lock, and then they just knew you were the comrade for me. I never hear love written about from a communist, socialist, left-wing perspective.
Arena, does that mean this is also a rise in self-gratification activity across the board, or are people working out situationships? Like, what are the children doing? What are y'all doing? Oh damn!
I know he's not calling.
Now I'm gonna skip ahead to something a little bit more interesting here, because I actually made sure to remember some timestamps here.
I think that's not a joke.
Whether it's being weaponized on the right or in liberal circles, like
Marginalized people as a whole. That's the problem. God forbid we have to take a single fucking shred of accountability.
Well, I think also, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think something I've been thinking about that I would love everyone else's like feedback on is, I think I'm also becoming allergic to the ways that discourse then creates identity and then it like calcifies it. And so it's like we're on this loop where we're just talking about the male loneliness epidemic, and then the discourse is like, you know what I'm saying? It becomes this like meta loop where we're just discoursing our way through these identities. And like, it just feels like we're not even having an interesting conversation most of the time. And then people start to act upon the discourse and like play it out. And I just, whether it's being weaponized on the right or in liberal circles, like I just don't, it just feels stuck. It doesn't feel like an interesting, revealing conversation anymore.
Yeah, I agree. So go ahead, FD.
Well, it's because I'm not going to say the majority of the time, but a lot of times when people bring up the male loneliness epidemic, it's only for pity and not for productive, like engaging with what causes it, which Brianna brought up earlier.
Well, how would you solve it? What would you do? Tell the guys to go to the gym? Tell them to make more money? What would you do?
What we're talking about really is late capitalism's effect on, you know, dating, the family, you know, self-identity, etc. And it's like nobody ever wants to go there, you know, especially the people that tend to bring it up with the most fervor, you know, the red pill adjacent folks, the kind of weird bioessential, not bioessentialists, like Scott Galloway types, where it's like this libertarian engagement with like masculinity, where they're using science that it makes sense in the context, but they keep saying mating and unironically, and it's like,
like evolutionary biology.
Yeah,
evolutionary
as a filter
biology.
through everything.
Scott Galloway is
Yeah.
talking about mating.
Is that his name?
Yeah, no, that's the deal. He does a lot of the male loneliness stuff. It's interesting though that when I pull up,
Yeah, Scott Galloway talks about it, but he'll never suggest that women have too much from a governmental perspective. Like the government and a lot of our social institutions, so to speak, just promote women endlessly, and with the express argument that men have sort of abused or held women back throughout the millennia, so therefore we kind of have to take revenge against men by promoting women. Like this is the modus operandi of basically every institution in the Western world right now. So when Scott talks about this kind of thing, he doesn't even talk about that. He just talks about how men are struggling.
up his specific clips, that have gone viral, I don't necessarily find myself disagreeing with a lot of what he said. And it's curious, like he'll say, I think what many of us would parrot on this panel, which is that there are socioeconomic realities that have changed, that change the sort of incentive structure for getting into a relationship. Men don't have the value add of offering financial support for equality in the workplace style reasons, and they haven't been acculturated or socialized to provide what women expect to provide in relationships, emotional support, EQ, running the household, childcare, all those sorts of things. So the bargain, the trade doesn't seem to be very equal.
And look what she just said, though. Men are expected to provide what women provide. How is that supposed to work?
Change the sort of incentive structure for getting into a relationship. Men don't have the value add of offering financial support for,
why do women who make men's money need men's money? And this isn't even necessarily a problem for the men. A lot of men would be willing, but the situation seems to be untenable because a lot of women come to this conclusion that I make a man's money. Why do I need a man's money?
Quality in the workplace style reasons, and they haven't been acculturated or socialized to provide what women expect to provide in relationships, emotional support, EQ, running the household, childcare, all those sorts of things. So the bargain, the trade doesn't seem to be very equal. Men feel kind of worthless, and therefore we have a like he'll say things that don't sound dissonant.
He makes sense. He's kind of a weird.
I mean, on the other hand, if men are pulling away from dating and women, then it's men making a value judgment about women and relationships being worth less. Because by and large, what you see is women being unhappy with the dating situation and men just figuring out how to deal with life. And it seems like men are pulling back in a lot of ways, or at least that's what the women are complaining about. Where are all the men? Where are all the good men? You don't really get a lot of podcasts from men like, where are all the good women? You get podcasts from men like, how to get the hoes. Why don't the hus love you?
Guy.
But it does feel sort of Jordan Peterson coded for reasons that I can't quite put my finger on.
And like, if you said the same thing in this voice, it would sound like it was him.
Like, you can make sense, but like, to what end? What is what are you mobilizing it towards?
And
well, that is the question. And that's why it feels so much like blame, I think, when the conversation comes up. I mean, Cameron knows that previously when I dabbled in this topic on this episode, it was because, friend of the show, my former boss at The Intercept, Ryan Grimm, who is a great journalist over at Drop Site News and does a lot of great reporting, had ended up in a kind of Twitter back and forth with a very young woman, 18-year-old, recently out of high school, who had gone viral for being dubbed by the New York Post as hot girl for Zoran, because she was a pretty young girl who wired for Zoran. She didn't dub herself that. But they had gotten this back and forth because a third party, sorry to have to rehash this all, but a third party had tweeted something that Ryan felt was sort of dismissive of what men are going through, basically saying, in response to a study that showed high school senior girls are less likely to be interested in marriage than high school senior boys at this point in time for the first time in history. This other reporter had tweeted, yeah, no big surprise. Basically, take a look at the boys and you'll figure out very quickly what's going on.
Has anyone bothered to ask the boys what's going on with the girls, though?
And Ryan thought that was sort of glib and unfair to high school boys. This high school girl, Ella Davi, piped in saying, well, I was recently a high school girl, and let me tell you about what all the boys have been doing and how crude they are and misogynistic and how they used our high school email addresses to sign us up for Pornhub accounts and all of this really gross stuff. And I thought when I brought them together on the podcast, it would yield a sort of softening. And that Ryan being older and having daughters that weren't that much younger than Ella would sort of be willing to acknowledge that there was in fact bad behavior on the part of boys, and they would be able to have a conversation about why that is and how to get everybody to where they need to be.
Shout out to all those young misogynistic high school boys. Don't let them kill your spirit, kids.
And I don't want to mischaracterize the conversation. People can go back and listen to it for themselves. But I was both frustrated with how the conversation went and frankly with the audience's reaction to the conversation. So there are a lot of people out there who do feel like we are the left, me personally, whomever, are too unsympathetic to what men are going through. But as they say that over and over again, you're too unsympathetic.
But the left wing, by and large, doesn't think men are going through anything, as in, there's something happening. The left, by and large, thinks men just suck. They think men have been terrible for millennia. A huge portion of left-wing ideology is wrapped around the idea that men have done horrible crimes against women, against the world. White men have done horrible things to all the other men. And so there's this giant, just hostile energy against men in general. So you can't even conceive of your victims having a plight.
Pathetic. You're too unsympathetic. I found myself asking, what exactly is it that you want me to say? Because I can say I'm sympathetic and I can say there are economic realities undergirding these behaviors that need to be addressed. I am a socialist. I don't think my bona fides are really under attack here. But what it feels to me sometimes like is that they want me to.
And why are so many wealthy upper middle class women socialists, by the way? You would think socialism would be like the thing that just runs through the poor. You would think the poor would be the most socialist. Ironically, it's the upper middle class women. And then, frankly, as far as this conversation goes, Brianna Greyjoy is indistinguishable from an affluent white liberal female. She's black and awful.
Do something about it, place the onus on me to somehow accommodate somebody else's like men doing bad things to women.
They want the hot liberal. Oh, go ahead.
Can I just say, when we talk about this, a lot of people like to act like those socioeconomic situations do not apply to women as well. Like when people are saying, "Oh, these men are so lonely because the job market's bad," it's like, what, the job market's good for women?
The job market purposely discriminates against men in favor of women. It's been doing that for such a long time, you don't even question it. You just go with it. This is why we have these phenomenon right now of the TikTok jobs where just, girls make these videos, a day in the life of a Google paid woman, and it's just her making phone calls and pressing buttons on the computer all day. And then she drinks lattes and takes 8 breaks a day.
Fuck are you talking about? It's the same exact thing. It's anything to skirt away from accountability. And please excuse me because the world's fucking smallest violin is on the other side of my apartment. But go cry about it. Like, maybe get your shit together and act like a normal person, dudes.
Okay.
What does that even mean? And this little twerp is just a typical male feminist posture right here. Anyway, very unlikable.
NFT, yeah.
They want the hot liberal girls to fuck them. That's the thing I think was on the tip of your tongue about what do you want me to do about it? They want to I'm just legitimately calling it how I see it.
You know what? And frankly, this guy here at the bottom, he has all the energy of the hot liberal girls don't fuck him, by the way. Whatever this kid's name down here is right here, you're giving off hot liberal girls don't fuck me energy. But anyway.
And what's funny is that I don't think, I could be wrong. I don't think there's such a dearth of actual relationships in love happening in the world to involve the term crisis. Does that make sense? Like, I think we're talking about maybe like a margin moving in one direction or another. There's definitely some differences in like the behavioral, like the output of certain behaviors. But I'm pretty confident a lot of the, like, for the men that are, vaping, you said vaping at 3:00 in the morning on TikTok. There are dudes that are probably improved, like they probably have way more opportunities for romance than they would have had during my era, because that percentage of guys has just checked out of the dating arena. But if you just check in as a normal guy, there's opportunities there. Am I wrong?
See, the assumption is that everything in the dating arena is the fault or the problem of the men. No matter how you slice it, there's something wrong with the men. The men have to do better. The men have to be better. And as long as we're only going to come at it from that direction, we're just going to watch things get worse and worse.
I've been married for 20 years. But
I'm going to offer a piece of advice. This is dating advice for young dudes. All right. This is phenomenal advice. You're going to thank me for it. This
is like young Scott Galloway, by the way. Like if Scott Galloway had a mini-me, it'd be this little piece of shit.
Yeah. I'm going to offer a piece of advice. This is dating advice for young dudes. All right. This is phenomenal advice. You're going to thank me for it. Make some friends that are girls, because if you can't be friends with a woman, you can't properly respect a woman. And if you can't properly respect a woman, she's going to be able to tell.
Making friends that are girls is not how you get the box, bro. Girls don't typically want to have sex with their male friends like that. That's not your role in her life. That's not how she looks at you. This nigga literally gave you advice that your mom would give. His name is Jasper. Jasper says, just befriend the girl. Befriend her. Milady.
Opportunities there. Am I wrong? I've been married for 20 years. But
I'm going to offer a piece of advice. This is dating advice for young dudes. All right. This is phenomenal advice. You're going to thank me for it. Make some friends that are girls, because if you can't be friends with a woman, you can't properly respect a woman. And if you can't properly respect a woman, she's going to be able to tell.
You should never take dating advice from guys who talk about properly respecting women. At no point in your romantic life should respecting women be an issue.
Women, if you're watching this, go to a guy's social media if you guys meet and just see if he has any pictures with other girls. That is a great tell for if he's going to be able to act like a civilized individual. All of the best decisions I have ever made with women were because I called like 12 other women first and whined about it because I'm an extremely angsty person.
You did what to who? White boys, is this your king? Young socialist, left-wing white boys, is this your king? Look, it's either this guy or the Mog Wars, all right? You either be like this little incel socialist kid, or you die fighting clavicular in the Mog Wars, white boys. Which way, young white man?
All of the best decisions I have ever made with women were because I called like 12 other women first and whined about it because I'm an extremely angsty person. And they kind of helped steer the ship. There's a council that I consult before.
This nigga literally has a council of hens guiding his romantic life. You look henpecked too. He literally has a council of hens. This is literal longhouse advice, bro. Longhouse advice.
I make these decisions, and my God, they've been right every time. Like, it is unbelievable how much better you are at dealing with situations that involve women when you have women in your life who you're not trying to sleep with. But dudes will so often act so.
Yeah, of course you should have women in your life that you're not trying to sleep with. They're called relatives, bro. Do you not have relatives? Where were you born in a polycule? This nigga's a polycule baby. He doesn't know who his real family is.
So fucking weird. And it's because women are othered to them. Like, women are considered this other fucking species. And that's not to say there aren't so many stark differences.
Yeah. In the very best of conditions, women are like an ethereal other. You know, this goes back to that whole Madonna whore thing. When we love you the most, when we love you the hardest, you're something a little bit other to us, you know? Because why would we love you if you were like us? Like, no man falls in love with a woman who's like him with titties. And to the contrary, no woman wants a man who's a her with a dick. Like, I need you to be something fucking other.
Between individuals who identify as men and individuals who identify as women. I'm not suggesting that, but I am saying that within the social norms that we all follow, yeah, there's fucking differences, and you need to learn how to relate to somebody of another gender if you're going to be able to have anything resembling a relationship that they actually want to be a part of. Like, I don't know why I would be incentivized to settle if I was a young woman right now. I would be much happier being single, maybe letting Chapel Roan convert me, than I would be like fucking shacking myself up with some dude who.
He sounds like he gets pegged. Oh, anyway, this dude sounds the raped. Oh my God, I gotta stop saying that. I swear, everywhere I look, I see signs of trauma. Everywhere I look, I see signs of deep trauma.
Who doesn't even act like women are the same type of person.
I believe that is happening some places with some men. I have even maybe had a little bit of experience dating a little bit of in the Gen Z world myself, even at my big age. That being said, it does feel
Yeah. No heterosexual man uses words like slay unironically. I don't think I've ever said the word slay when I wasn't making fun of some gay nigga. Like, that, no straight man says that word unironically.
I remember when I was in my 20s, and there was this discourse around how it was hookup culture and nobody wanted to date, and how this was a crisis. And there's a part of me that sort of resists the idea that there's anything new under the sun. And yet I do feel, I don't know, maybe you can help me with this, Cameron. Like, to what extent are these new factors, like how much more online people are with, I didn't have Instagram and barely had Facebook and stuff like that when I was younger. And wasn't able to live a whole social life just on my phone. I didn't have a smartphone until like law school. How much do you think that, you're able to mitigate real isolation through social media, and therefore you don't seek out new relationships? How much do you think the fact that the economy is so much worse than it was when I was graduating in 2007 and the precipice of the recession, but not quite yet, than it is now? I mean, do you really think those are having a material effect on people's willingness to partner? Or
Yes, it's the economy, but nowhere near the way you understand it, because you're such a, pampered upper middle class urbanite. You have no idea how it really works, right? As long as we're providing so much extra for women, women will have less practical incentive to make long-term romantic decisions.
Or is it something more holistic? Because, Issa, we're age peers. And I've, been dating pretty consistently this whole time. And yet I do feel like, even dating my own age peers, there does feel like sometimes this big question mark of what would make us choose each other permanently.
Right. You don't see any practical reason to be together beyond what have I been saying about these modern women for a while now? All they really, really think they want is dick and emotions. And so long as you're providing them good dick and positive emotions, then life is good for them. But when it comes to just the general realities, the practicalities of life, fucking useless, man. There's no room for you there, and they don't really have a vision of how things should work anyway. So it's just dick and emotions until some real shit happens, and then we're gonna break up, and I'm gonna find new dick and emotions.
Mm-hmm. Why would we get married?
Well, hookup culture is a fake thing. That everybody has hooked up with each other all the time, forever. It's just a
apparently
question
not
of when
Gen
people,
Z.
Yeah, other than Gen Z, it's just a question.
Cameron's
of
like,
when
I'm fucking.
I can't speak to that, but no, I think that the social media is just making us act with more antisocial behaviors as a whole. I don't think that only pertains to dating and hooking up and stuff. It's making people act weird in any sort of interpersonal interaction. The way that this has just turned our brains into fucking pudding is something that happens in the workplace. Do you read these articles about how Zoomers act in the workplace? I promise you, it's true. The way a lot of my young people friends talk about how they show up to work and how they interact with the other people with whom they work, I'm like, really? That sounds fucking weird. So social media going in and making us all janky and everything, absolutely, that's affected the way we date each other and the way we approach each other and things like that. Face you just made. You just fucking loaded up.
Just to kind of ground the conversation somewhere.
Okay, personal. Yeah, fair. Okay. I am sympathetic to the economic realities of the world, so much so that it has never really been the case. Very rarely has it been the case that my partner would offer me real kind of economic security. Right. I've usually earned more, etc. I mean, anybody.
Now, which is also another way of looking at this, Miss Brianna Gray, is that you haven't been able to attract a partner who actually out-earns you. That is an entirely different phenomenon for a woman, and I understand why you wouldn't frame it or even desire to see it that way, but that is also the reality of it. This is a successful woman financial trap, right? The more successful you become, the higher you climb that socioeconomic ladder, the less men there are that you would find suitable who are equal or above you. And the men who are equal or above you, they can do a whole lot better than you without trying as hard.
Who's earning anything can like contribute to the rent hypothetically. But, I've only very, very briefly lived with a person, and that's never been the dynamic. So I've kind of taken that off the table. But hypothetically, I mean, I'm a podcaster in a very insecure world. Hypothetically, it would be lovely if I felt some sort of economic security from a partner, but that's never been something that I've sought out or really expected.
But nonetheless, you yearn for it. And all of your left-wing socialist programming is telling you that you shouldn't yearn for it.
If you don't have a man, you ain't nothing.
So that's kind of, that's one thing that might be somewhat of an inducement. The problem is, absent that, this is what I was getting at before, absent that, you have these intangible qualities. Are you supportive? Yeah. Are you emotionally available? Are you the kind of person that makes my day better by being in it? Because
dick and emotions. This is why I have a hard time listening to chicks talk. They say so many words, and I listen to it, and I just boil it down to two basic things: dick and emotions.
As you do have these sorts of emotional resources. Do we, have good companionship and like to do similar things? I spend a lot of time in the world fighting, having a lot of conflict in my life. Do I feel safe and secure when I come home to you? And do I know that I can be myself and say my opinions and not feel like I'm going to be in fisticuffs 24/7, or that you're going to, impugn my integrity or question me the way I'm questioned all day, every day in the world for having some belief that someone's characterizing as anti-Semitic or,
Yeah.
Always validate me. Always make me feel good on the inside. And she doesn't realize how that isn't quite emotional grounding. It's not what relationships are actually based on in the long run. There's a little bit more into it. That's why when she started talking about all those other practical things about how people got together, people that she knew of, she sounded mystified by it, because she's like, well, where's all the dick and emotion?
Whatever it is, like evil because I made Trump win, and whatever it is. So a certain degree of peace. But in terms of marriage and longevity at this stage, I as a Leo, here we go, Issa. Let me deliver this one to you. As a Leo, I really value loyalty and the idea that somebody would care about me enough to want to commit to me forever. I like that notion.
Yeah.
I'm very drawn to that idea. I am a skeptic about that.
About that reality? Like about it being delivered?
Reality. Yes.
She doesn't believe she'll ever fall in love. And so begins the woman's villain arc.
Good women are dead. Evil bitches, rise up!
And I don't feel as though my values and what I like about myself and who I've built myself into being over 40 years is especially compatible with what human straight males want in America. And I am like
a 40-year-old, successful, relatively attractive Black woman who comes to the very sobering conclusion that I am not what most straight men in this country want. And listen, you can go around the world with that shit. It only gets harder outside of America. I promise you, the men only get more difficult the further away you get from New York City. Leave America and see how hard it is.
Okay with that if I have to pick, but it makes me just less solicitous of their interest, generally speaking, because it's like a world where I have to feel bad about myself for not fitting into what they like all the time, or a world where I actually like myself, but they don't. Agree?
You like you, but men don't like you. Yeah, yes, you heard it. This is a very, very, very modern Black woman problem, all right? You love you, and nobody else does. I've met a bunch of chicks like that in my life. You love the shit out of you, and everybody else low-key hates you, at least a little bit.
Thrown at this, because this doesn't sound like, to me as a age peer, like super high standards.
No, they're not. And yet
the bar is in hell.
So
the bar is in hell, and yet you can't get a man to meet the bar? How is your bar in hell and you can't get a man to even rise up to it?
How do it equivalent?
So I let me rep for my Facebook self and ask, is this an accurate reflection of, are you open to the idea that what you're saying now is it an accurate reflection of your actual dating behavior?
And what
you know
way?
What I'm saying? Meaning, like, have you come across men that have many of the features you just presented, but had some, warts that maybe you wouldn't admit, maybe you wouldn't present openly, is a deal breaker. But
now notice how delicate FD Signifier is being in this moment right now. Notice he only wants to even touch this problem from the angle of the men are bad, the men come up short, the men aren't enough.
But I want to address this simping allegation. Do I simp for black women? Yes. I love black women. I don't like y'all niggas. This is an easy decision to make. Sorry.
Like, was a deal breaker in that moment. You know, like, because you didn't give a lot of hard, like, half the men I know. Well, actually, I don't know any. Damn, I don't know any. Do I know any single?
You
men?
don't know any, because FD, you know this. I'm sure your wife has some single friends,
yes,
who are attractive and well-educated and lovely people. Yes. And every time you all hang out, they say, "Hey, FD, do you have any male friends for me?" And you say, "None that you would want to date."
But my wife also has single friends who I hear what they say, but then I witness secondhand some of their dating behavior, and I'm like, oh,
like what?
And now it's starting to come out. FD, are you going to be honest about what you've seen? Because we've all seen things. We've all seen these modern women. Shout out to Deacon Dave and Clay Bisbee. Looks like it kind of entered twice there, but appreciate you guys joining the church. We got some new memberships. If you guys mind, if you wouldn't mind, rather, please considering joining the membership over here. Thank y'all so much.
Get it again. Okay, I'm going to say it again. I come in the name of Jesus. Repeat it after me, bitch. I come in the name of Jesus by the power of the Holy Spirit.
Give me the money. Give me the money for I was you. Give me the money.
like what? You know, like about to catch me, catch me, what's the word? Catch me red-handed. You know, just like being very wishy-washy with what they actually want.
What do you mean? So they're saying, "Oh, I don't care about height, but I'm rejecting everybody who's not 6 foot tall."
Right. Well,
I don't care about money, but rejecting everybody who doesn't make 6 figures or whatever.
Stuff like that, but also like having men that show those things and then not putting in like a serious effort to pursue or like solidify, like being in situationships with men that they really want to be in relationships with. And as far as I know, them just kind of just not wanting to press harder as to maintain a situationship over pursuing the actual relationship.
They know that if they press the situationship will end.
What's a woman to do?
If you don't have a man, you ain't nothing.
A woman, no.
I think that should be if your goal is a relationship, you might need to sacrifice.
I agree. I agree. And maybe this is like a Lysistrata situation where all the women just have to get together and agree not to have sex and be in situationships with men until they, commit. But even that there's something so like denigrating about that. Like, oh, we all got to trick the men and like withhold sex until they agree to put a ring on our finger. It's like.
Well, listen, you keep doing all the whole shit you've been doing and you see how that works. What have I been saying about the whole Madonna whore thing anyway, right? You have to project some level of ethereal value. Like we need to be more, we need to see you. We as men need to see you as more than a series of holes, right? Because we will totally accept you for being a series of holes, and then that's all you will be. And then you're going to be like, oh, how do I turn this situationship into a relationship? And it's like, too late, series of holes. I don't even know why you're talking.
Okay, no, you know what?
So I want to be clear.
Like, you can have it. Like, it's not that serious. Like, if you hate me that much, I don't need it. Go ahead. Sorry, Cameron.
Oh no, I was just saying.
But it's not the general sex strike. It's the.
And you know what? Collective pussy bargaining, Carmen. Now that you think about it, when you say it that bluntly, collective pussy bargaining sounds very much like a communist love story. You know, she was the woman who gave me my monthly pussy ration, and then she started to come by every week. This is exactly what socialist love breaks down into: collective pussy bargaining.
It's you have to kind of. This is what I perceive. You have to set the hard line once the situationship becomes like permanent. So like, look, I desire this. You're not giving it to me. Let's move on. And like, so I feel like this is just me playing devil's advocate. I feel like I've heard this same conversation before from single women. And
I don't disagree with you, FD, but let me just stop you. I have not been in situationships. That has not been my issue. I've been in like.
I don't believe you.
Many 2 to 5 year relationships.
A 2 to 5 year situationship is still a situationship. Longevity doesn't actually change the nature of the situation. Niggas can maintain a situation indefinitely. Niggas study on trying to maintain a situation, all right? We get really upset when you try to fuck up the situation we've been working hard to maintain.
But I don't have.
That's probably why them things ended, because you tried to up the game and he was like, no, I like the situation just the way it is. Now I'm going to have to find a woman who wants to maintain a situation, and now you're single again.
I have an issue with that. I'm a Leo.
Yeah, you can tell.
And I don't suffer fools, and I don't take 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and I'm not really interested in being a bench warmer or anything like that.
You said something, somebody said something a couple minutes ago that was interesting to me, was the use of the word attractive. I always find it so funny when dudes talk about women looking for attractive guys, because if you know women are not looking for attractive guys. I have a lot of friends who are extremely hot women, and the guys who they cry about for days are the most mid dudes you've ever seen in your entire life. Oh my God.
Why is FD Signifier doing that? FD, what is going through your head in this moment right now when he's like, I'm the king of the mid niggas?
Mid dudes you've ever seen in your entire life. Look
at FD Signifier standing up to claim his crown as king of the mid niggas. Dad bods unite.
My God, I'm so glad I'm not like hot, because if I was hot, I genuinely think I would look worse on the dating market. It's the fact that I'm like,
I think hot guys are extremely overrated, actually. I wish more.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. FD Signifier said out of his own mouth, hot guys are extremely overrated, because he would know. He would. I don't know how he would, but I'm taking him at his word for it. You know, the king of the mids would know that hot guys are extremely overrated. This is what FD Signifier just said, y'all.
Oh my God. I'm so glad I'm not like hot, because if I was hot, I genuinely think I would look worse on the dating market. It's the fact that I'm like,
I think hot guys are extremely overrated, actually. I wish more
women don't want guys who are hot.
Why do men need to understand that, by the way? What is it that men need to understand about hot guys, FD?
Look worse on the dating market. It's the fact that I'm like,
I think hot guys are extremely overrated, actually. I wish more
women don't want guys who are hot.
You know, it's so funny. Speaking of clavicular, there was the video of like him stealing some dude's girlfriend, and the dude's in the background like, hey, bro, come on, man. Don't just take my girl. Yeah. Mid niggas will never understand male pretty privilege. Pretty privilege is a real thing for men. It just is. It just is. And there's nothing you can do. The same way women cannot cope for a lack of beauty, the king of the mids can never truly fathom all the benefits of male pretty privilege.
Women want guys who are upper mid. That's what I call it. That's what I call myself. I am on the higher end of.
Women want guys who are upper mid. Oh shit. Hell, I can't even laugh because I just straight up tell people I'm ugly on the internet. I don't even play these games. Upper mid. What the hell is upper mid? Listen, I am a big, unattractive man, but I'm right. All right. That is my thing right now. What is this upper mid shit?
Mid.
This is hilarious.
I am a generic, gaunt white boy with sad eyes. Like, do you understand how much people freak out about that?
You look like you look like that guy from SNL. What was the name of that guy? And they created that band, Lonely Island. Remember him and Justin Timberlake did that song, Dick in the Box? What was that guy's name? I want to say Sandberg, but I don't really remember his name. But he is Andy Sandberg? Yeah, you look like Andy fucking Sandberg, bro. This is the Gen Z Dick in the Box guy.
So I'm glad I'm not hot. Oh my God. If I was hot,
for the record, I'm rejecting everybody's.
Yeah, you had to be there. YouTube, listen, type it into YouTube if you don't know what I'm talking about. He looks just like the Dick in the Box kid. This is the Gen Z Dick in the Box Andy Sandberg.
Claims of not being hot. Again, the resident Leo on the panel, I want everyone to speak more highly of themselves. Isa, as the other woman on this panel, do you agree with this prognosis?
Yeah, I mean, something that's coming to mind for me as we're talking that I'm kind of curious what you think about it. But I do think one of the things that I deal with a lot with I feel like all power structures in race and gender is the notion that then as a woman, I feel like there is like pressure, especially in the discourse now, to be perfect all the time. And I do take issue with like sometimes
you know who pressures women to be perfect? Other women. Men do not have time for this. You know, one of the things that irks men the most in like long-term relationships is that little, you know how women take longer in the bathroom getting ready, all that. Those are, you know, women trying to be perfect. Men are little, we low-key bothered by that shit. We like it when you're able to just throw something on and get in the car and run out with us, you know? Men don't really demand perfection. Women do that shit to women because women are vicious.
In the culture, not in the left discourse, but in the culture of like this kind of encouragement for women to become more and more independent and like fuck men. And I mean, after you made this point like 30 minutes ago, but I experience a lot of skin hunger. Like I'm a super sensual person and I feel.
My girl says she has skin hunger. We gotta remember this term. We gotta weaponize this phrase, right? Because now that she said that she experiences skin hunger, what she's telling us is that there are, in fact, a lot of women who have never actually been touched. That's why she got that shit on her eyes, bro. She got hungry eyes. That's what that shit on her eyebrows is. She got the hungry eyes. She is living with skin hunger. And I'm starting to think, because listen, remember, female loneliness epidemic, it's a real thing. There are women who hunger to be touched. This is literally love song lyrics like, and I hunger for your touch of all lonely hoes. She has the skin hunger. And there are a lot of women who are skin hungry. And I be trying to feel bad for these hoes, but I just can't. These skin hungry bitches.
Different types of registers of depression when I don't get touch. And it's a real thing for me. Like I'll start to feel really disconnected. And even being in New York and having access to my nephews and getting to snuggle every night with a child, like it really does something.
This is why the video of the woman with the baby went so viral. Because the modern world that we live in, it really does kind of psychologically abuse women away from these basic things that actually make them function and make them less crazy, less retarded. And I've been making fun of this whole concept for a minute, but like women they really do need an appropriate diet of vitamin D and E. They do. They do. When you get their vitamin D and E just right, that's when the baby thing happens. And then they can, transfer some of that skin touch craving shit to the baby. And then, like, because the baby always needs to be touched and held. And so, because the vitamin D and E gives them the baby, it kind of calms their retarded nature. Because without the proper vitamin D and E ratio and then the baby to come along with it, they're just kind of like physically retarded.
Profound for me, where it doesn't have to be necessarily erotic or romantic touch, but I need that sensual touch. And I feel like we don't talk about that enough as a need. It gets kind of devalued in the like hierarchy of the conversation. But also I feel like sometimes as a woman, you do feel like you need to perform.
Yes. De-deprivation leads to syndromes and shit. Absolutely, Carmen. Absolutely. That's why she's got the weird war paint makeup on. She's going through the deprivation syndrome right now, and she's feeling very, very warlike.
Form this kind of something that's already like something I'm too good at already, which is like feeling really good on my own. And that's just like a personality thing I have to fight against, where like the whole line of women in my life, which is a very common story, are women who are like, we're always, since we're young girls, we're always like encouraged to be really sovereign. And like, you have to.
She comes from a long line of dick-deprived women. She has dick deprivation in her genes. Her mama was dick deprived. Her mama's mama before her was dick deprived. Her mama's mama was dick deprived. She just comes from a long line of women who have never been touched properly, and they keep making these little angry, fugly babies and releasing them into the wild among. Now we gotta suffer this horrible shit.
Be good on your own, and it's really fatiguing. And then on top of it, we don't always get the space to like explore that vulnerability of like, yes, I'm always going to be good. And I would love companionship. I would love intimacy. I would love to experience like not having the answers or not being the wise one or the wise guide or like the emotional doula in every situation, even in these conversations, right? Like there's moments where
an emotional doula. I'm hearing words I would have never thought combined before. An emotional doula. Is this like a woman who helps give birth to your emotions?
you want to kind of like expose a different register of the experience, which is like the yearning. And I also feel like there's the conversation at the pattern recognition, like big scale. And then I'm having micro experiences. Like I've been dating a lot of younger men for the first time in my life. And I've been like experiencing great things there. Like,
oh, she's hitting her cougar age. She's getting done. Oh, she's getting her doonies knocked in. Gotta knock the doonies in. She getting that YN dick. She has reached her cougar era, and now she's getting young YN dick. She is fully hag maxing.
I've been meeting men that I feel like have been hitting on me in person, which I find really brave and courageous and like implicitly awkward. And like you're putting yourself out there in a way that's so cool. And yeah, just like the kind of slow building of trust that I think I'm experiencing. So I think it's hard for me because I understand things on the social scale, but then in my own interpersonal life, I have a lot of great experiences with the men that I date. And I don't feel like I come to those experiences.
A lot. Let me start over. Let me add another one. A lot of great experiences, y'all. A lot. Lots and lots and lots of great experiences, y'all. So many great experiences. Oh my God. All the experience. She had so much experience, y'all.
Get back in the kitchen.
feeling at 39. I don't feel perfect and amazing and great in the arena of all intimacy cultivation at all. Like there's a lot of things that I'm looking for in my blind spots. Like I think, and then also I am a podcaster as well, and I do client one-to-one work, and my life is highly verbal. And so I also look for relationships to help me in these other areas where like by the time it's 7:00 every night, I also want to be like Brianna, you said, like with someone who makes me feel held and that I can laugh with. And that also, I just was in a relationship that didn't work because we didn't have that value alignment. So that's key. It's not mutually exclusive, but like I also need to experience a level of like softness and a different type of experience in that.
Too much dick, not enough emotion. I've seen it a bunch of times. The D&E ratio is just not working right. She's getting the dick, but she's not getting the proper emotion, which is leaving her a little bit empty. And so she's not quite sure how to like bridge that gap. How do I maintain this proper dick level, but get a lot more emotional mileage out of it? Total skill issue. I wouldn't help you if I knew how.
Fucking Israel hater who can like read off the Oslo Accords. And like when they hear 6-7, they think 1967. Like that is someone with whom I know I can build something that lasts a very long time. That was the whole 6-7 meme for me. As I kept on thinking of like
that's
Jordan
funny.
and Egypt. So all this is that's just like a silly random example, but in all truth,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just in all truth, I'm ready to transition into adulthood, and I think that means having somebody with you where both of you are going to become different people. Both of you are going to transition to these different things, but it's all built off of a base. And that's a base that is very hard to change because values and principles are very different from where your life is at any given point. There are parts of your behavior and your belief systems that don't change. And very often, thank God.
I think, go ahead. Because I think that was a lot of very actually wise stuff there from Cameron about marriage. Because the thing that, and maybe this is a Gen Z benefit, which is also probably why they're getting married less, is because marriage was taught to, I think, us older millennials. We still had the install of marriage being like this like glorious magical thing that you did when you found your 1-2 person and you all are perfectly, and it's like, you know, you both had birthmarks on your hands and you realized you were going to be together when your hands came together and the birthmark match. You know, it's like all kinds of like silly Disney shit. But really, marriage is just a framework of partnership. And like, I don't call my wife my partner because that's just not us. But like when people say that's my partner and they're talking about like their significant other, that's actually a really valuable framework to engage with around long-term partnership and or marriage, because you have a base, you have, I'm going to use sports.
But what are the values that, you know, a left-wing young socialist man and a left-wing young socialist woman are really going to come together on?
Analogies. I'm sure your listeners...
Are you going to both hate the patriarchy together? Are you going to both fight capitalism together?
Joy Gray and everybody here, it's great with sports metaphors.
It's Bad Faith, and then the biggest crossover podcast is Pablo Torre's podcast. So
there you go. So if you understand, you know, scouting an athlete for the NFL, you know, you're scouting a quarterback. You look at the tools that they have. Those are things that are probably not going to change, for better or for worse. Those are the things that are not going to change. And those are the things you have to kind of couch long-term partnership on. When I met my wife, I knew she was incredibly intelligent. I knew she was very loyal. I knew she was like patient. I knew she had all these features, and I'm like, those are features that are valuable to me. And vice versa, she saw features within me. I didn't like my wife's cooking initially, or you know, the way she argued got on my nerves, and all these other things that happen when you're in a young relationship. But like getting married was a decision to formalize the partnership that we had been working within. It wasn't the culmination of my life's work as a bachelor. You know what I'm saying? And I think when people engage with long-term partnership or marriage as, like I said earlier, trying to beat a game together, the game of life or the game of parenting, you know what I'm saying? Or the game of surviving. If you look at it through that lens, I think it tends to kind of take some of the bullshit out of the equation. And it's like, can me and this person beat this boss? Can we get through this boss battle together? And when me and my wife, it's easy. Everything's easy mode at this point. There's different times where it's been like, oh my God, I'm tired of fighting this particular battle. I don't know if we're going to just reset like there's moments, but it's never about some type of magical, metaphysical experience or ignition within oneself. It's deciding, I want to rock with this person. This is my teammate. We're going to go fight the world,
That sounds.
And see, again, he's referring to what I noticed, and this is why I kind of been harsh on the whole, all they really looking for is dick and emotion sort of argument, because what FD Signifier is really using to kind of connect it all together to make it more practical beyond just, feelings and sex and whatever. But there has to be a shared mission that the man and the woman both kind of hold together. And if you don't actually share a mission that desperately depends on the other partner doing their thing, then what are we doing this for? What are we wrapping this around? And this is why I think one of the problems in the modern world is almost like existential in terms of relationships. Like, why get together beyond the fact that, I'm hot and you're hot? Like, we both want to have sex with each other. You're like, okay, yeah, that's great, but now what? And I think because, leftism and all these isms, they get in the way of just the basic realities for men and women. It's a lot harder to find, basic relationship dynamics when you're, modern and left-wing and progressive and all that. Relationships are hard enough to do. And when they're done right, they tend to all look very similar, and they tend to code very right-wing and conservative, which is the death for these people, apparently.
Sounds wonderful. And I feel similarly about what the point of marriage is. And my skepticism, I think, comes from #NotAllMen, but having these conversations with folks with men who, when I drill down and ask them why they chose their partners, they give not that really lovely articulation of the values and characteristics that your wife has that would contribute to your own as you build a life together, but circumstantial stuff. For example, this isn't maybe fair, but I was in an Uber on the way from the airport in Cleveland, and I always get a real colorful character in the Cleveland Ubers for whatever reason. It feels much less professionalized than it is in
I love Cleveland. Yeah.
Love Cleveland.
It really does look like they're trying to find their way back to a productive, traditional Christian relationship setup, but they don't want to actually use that model. They don't want to say the words, The last thing they'll ever do is say Christ is Lord, that type of shit.
Love Cleveland down. But he was an older gentleman. He was 70 years old. I'm going to change names. Let's call him Mike. And his wife's name was Lily. How did I know her name was Lily? Because Lily called while we were driving. Mike pulled out a pair of glasses that he was not previously wearing, making me concerned. Why did he need glasses to see the phone and not the road? Never mind. Lily wanted to know what time he was coming home for dinner. I say, Mike starts talking about Trump. I said, let's redirect this conversation to something that's not going to get us in a fight on this highway. When did you meet Lily? He starts to tell me the story of Mike and Lily. I said, how did you know that Lily was the one? Mike says, well, other girls, when they told me they didn't want to go out with me on a given night, I would drive by their place of work to see if their alibi held up. And when I drove by where Lily was, she actually was at work, and I knew she was an honest woman.
Oh my gosh, that's
you can't apply that.
Yeah.
As amazing of an anecdote that is very.
That is #NotAllMen. That's very, very niche.
That is actually kind of interesting, though. Out of all the girls I knew, she was the honest one. Men are simple like that, all right? I knew a bunch of cute girls, but she was honest.
It's very Mike and Lily. She was the one woman I stalked that seemed like she was honest.
But I'm so serious right now. Even like I don't want to be too specific with people I know in my life because I don't think the relationship has less value because there were circumstantial factors that led to your partnering, right? And when you made that point, FD, about how people are like, oh, we had matching birthmarks, and so I knew she was the one. I think that is both true, a little dispiriting, but also not so unhinged because there are billions of people in the world and it's a huge leap to make to pick one. And I understand people wanting something that seems to validate the decision that they made that is like supernatural. And you see this all the time when you watch like Love is Blind or these dating shows. They'll be in the pods and someone will say, oh, I also had a dog named Spot. Or I also always dreamed that In the Arms of an Angel was going to be my wedding song. And because we both have this thing in common, it makes me feel more comfortable proposing to someone I've never seen before, right? It just makes me feel more comfortable that this is fated and not just, I won't have to be accountable for my own decision making in this moment.
That accountability piece actually I think is a major key to like dive more into. Is the like so much of marriage is accountability, but like the way marriage and like long-term partnership is framed within like the love of it all, the yearning of it all, is kind of situated to take accountability out of it. Because if go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's one of the things that's really drawing me to this girl that I'm so down bad for at this moment is I can tell we have the potential for this to be something where she really, really loves me and also thinks that I'm just a little bit of a stupid asshole. And I need something like that. I want to be so loved, but I don't want to be liked too much because I know me and I love me and everything, but I think I'm a little bit of a stupid asshole.
This is such a weird little dude.
And this girl seems to align with me on values and it seems like we can really, get along where it really matters. But she's already willing to tell me to shut the fuck up. And I'm like, great. Like,
he so wants to be the woman in the relationship. And this is what I really hate about, modern relationships. Well, really from the left wing perspective, because I realize there is a very stark divide in approaches to how relationships could or should work. But it is not my desire to be told to shut up by the woman I love. And I'm sure she's going to do it at some point, but it's like, I don't aspire to this shit. I tolerate the shit. It's a difference. It's a big difference,
I feel like this is the age-old desire versus love conversation. And I think of with fantasy, our fantasy life, I think of how the fantasies we attach to certain people is more a reflection of a fantasy self that we're hinging on the other person as like a reflection of. And it's interesting with even partnership of like the choice that you're making is also a choice of the self that you're elevating.
I'll tell you, my fantasy self still kind of annoying. Like even my fantasy me.
Oh no, for sure.
Oh, you know what? He just ruined it for me. I think I said even my fantasy me, even my best version of me is still a little piece of shit. I'm done with this nigga. I'm over this whole thing. Listen, we're gonna wrap this one up right here, man. I gotta get out of here. He said even my fantasy me is still annoying. What do you even do with these people? On the good news, they're less likely to breed and reproduce. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. We probably won't have little genetic copies of most of these people running around in the future. That's one of the white pills. The right wing are the people making most of the babies. The right wing and the Mexicans. That's where all the babies are coming from right now in America. Right wing people and Mexicans. That's who's making all the kids right now. Those people, they're not making a lot of babies. He doesn't even love himself enough to give out proper dick and emotions to make a baby. He's conflicted. He wants the woman to peg him and put him in his place. He doesn't even know how to ask for that type of shit yet. He's just conflicted. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Anyway, we're gonna end this. We're gonna end this here. It just got cringe and weird, so it's a great place to stop this show.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
But we're going to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for coming out to watch. I'm working on something else, so I might come back a little bit later. I have a whole other conversation I wanted to have, but a lot of things happened over the weekend, and I have been indisposed. I finally went on vacation, And so, now we're back.
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help black people.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.